of James's strategy is if you try those things and you are one of the top all-time players, it's incredibly effective. In general, people should be prone to bigger wagers on Jeopardy. You should take more advantage of daily doubles than most people do, because historically, I think daily doubles are answered right, even by just an average player, something like 70% of the time. And so I'm somebody who probably could have played a James-like game with bigger wagers, and it would have been a bigger check, but honestly, I think one of the reasons why I was on that show for 6 months is just because I played a low-impact game, and it lowers the chances of big catastrophes, like you're saying, but also psychologically, you never have to come back and play Jeopardy knowing that you just lost $40,000 on a trivia puzzle. And for a professional gambler like James, he has the cool head for that, and I don't think I would have coped very well with having to play under those conditions.
So there's something in one of your books that really struck me, which is there's this sense of knowing that you know something well before you actually can articulate what you know. And that is, I think, really the secret to being good on Quiz Bowl or on Jeopardy. And it's an interesting phenomenon about the brain that I've never really heard discussed anywhere. Have you reflected at all? Do you have any sense of the deeper meaning of that?
Yeah, you have to learn not to, as you say, not to buzz in when you have the answer. You have to buzz in when you know you can buzz in with the answer. So it's a kind of meta-knowledge about the brain. And so much of these games are really meta-knowledge. It's not just producing the right answer. It's being able to think through, is this answer too obvious? Is this answer too difficult? Does this fit the previous clues of the question about chronology and geography and so forth? There's a lot of heuristics like that going on. But yes, the sense that, and I don't know if everybody can do this, but to be aware of the existence of your factor ability before you can actually produce it is super important to Jeopardy, and I have no idea if it's important to other areas of life.
Right. I never talked to a good NFL quarterback about this. I wonder if quarterbacks have the same sort of sense of they know what they need to do before they really know what it's going to be, and it allows them to react somehow more quickly. But most of life is not about speed, and so I don't think we practice that skill very often. Things we don't practice, we're not very good at.
There's a big problem when rookies play Jeopardy-type games in that they're extremely resistant to trying to answer. And, afterwards you'll say time and you'll say, oh, no, actually that was Kazakhstan. And, somebody will be like, yeah, I knew it was Kazakhstan. And they're right, they did know it, but they're extremely resistant to answering the question. And I'm sure that goes back to just humans being bad at gauging risk. But we're not good at knowing what we know.
So let me stick on the topic of the brain. So you've written that you have a geographic memory, and I don't even know what that means. What do you mean by that?
I did not understand this about myself until I wrote a book about my childhood love of maps and geography. I wrote a book called Maphead about people with weird geographic quirks and hobbies. And one thing I found right in the book is that I see the world through a very geographic lens that many people do not share, but other people with weird geography fixations do. It comes into play in terms of memory. I will find that I often kind of file stuff away by place. If I learn something new about Ecuador, a halo of associations appears all related to Ecuador, not so much related to the narrative I'm hearing about, or the time period, or the biographies of the people involved. It's all about the place. The volcanoes of Ecuador, and the llamas, and facts I've heard about the history, and the equator. It's all very spatial. And even when I dream, it's often very spatial. I'm moving through